Welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Hex.
And I'm Barjo. Second last episode of the year, Hex.
Don't remind me, Barjo. We've been trying to choose our game of the year, but it's just so friggin' hard.
Indeed it is, and perhaps it'll be something from this week, such as Far Cry 3.
Ooh.
Why won't you die?
Or it could be natural selection too.
Or maybe it'll be Family Guy Back to the Multiverse.
If you see them, I want you to shoot to kill.
Seriously? Of all the stunning pictures I've taken over the years, that's the one he gives them? Brian, we're taking all of those down.
Well, it's none of those games, but Game of the Year is a problem for future Barjo and future Hex.
Oh, that's right. But first, can you guess the game for this week? Last news for the year, Barjo. Make it count.
Okay.
Come on, good news face. Good news face from you. Not like that.
Good game.
Sydney man Okankaya has set a new Guinness World Record for the longest video game marathon after playing Call of Duty Black Ops 2 for over 122 hours.
If they want a fight, we give them a fight.
At the end of his marathon, Kaya was placed 37th on the global leaderboards for the game. The previous record was set earlier in the year by a Canadian duo playing Resistance for 120 hours. According to the rules, Kaya was allowed a 10-minute break every hour, and he also had to exercise regularly, had a small nap, and was under constant supervision. Gamers should note the dangers of playing for long periods, with several deaths in recent years caused by extended gaming sessions. The Australian government has announced that it is committing $20 million of federal funding to games development over the next 3 years. The funds are to help support and grow local development, with $5 million to be available each year for 2 years, and then $10 million the following year. Ivan Buchta and Martin Pesler, the two Arma 3 developers held in Greece on charges of espionage, have been denied bail. The pair now enters their 12th week in detention, reportedly sleeping on the floor in a cell with over 25 people. They have been forced to wait much longer than usual for a trial due to a strike affecting the Greek legal system, and are potentially facing a 20-year jail sentence if found guilty. And some quick updates on two of the biggest upcoming games to film adaptations. Dark Knight Rises star Tom Hardy has been cast to play Sam Fisher in the upcoming Splinter Cell film, with shooting planned to commence midway through next year. While Scott Derrickson, director of The Exorcism of Emily Rose and the recent remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still, will be directing the Deus Ex Human Revolution film adaptation.
I never asked for this.
Good game.
Family Guy Back to the Multiverse has a lot going for it. I mean, the show is still going strong, the cel-shading art style looks really cool, and it's based on a fan-favourite episode where Stewie and Brian go hopping through a bunch of crazy parallel universes.
We're going back to the multiverse. What the hell?
Seems today that all you see is violence in movies and sex on TV. But where are those good old-fashioned values on which we used to rely? Lucky as there. Lee, guys in the house. Okay, nobody laugh at me. There's been a tragedy, people. This isn't funny.
Hex, I bet there's even a parallel universe where our show is hosted by a couple of talking beards.
You know, I just didn't get into this one. Needed more beard.
See, I disagree. I think I could see it growing on me.
I'm a huge Family Guy fan, Hex, and I really wanted this game to be good. Kind of in the way that the Simpsons game was good. Even though it had its flaws, you could look past them because the writing was solid and it had a certain charm to it. But they haven't quite pulled it off here. This game's multiverse setting means each level can be set in a fresh location, which is good. My favourite was the Amish world.
What I need from you is a weapon, the likes of which no one has ever seen.
I'm afraid we cannot help you, unattractive infant. You see, the Amish are not a violent people.
But I couldn't help but be disappointed that in this multiverse setting, I couldn't actually explore the Quahog locations I know and love from the show.
I don't know, I think the multiverse idea was the right move. I mean, it provides a lot of variety. Plus, I never thought I'd find myself fighting a frat boy tossing beer kegs at me. And while I do love the way it just consistently flushes political correctness down the toilet, some of the jokes just, I don't know, maybe in game form felt, in bad taste.
Yes, the humour is pretty extreme, but I also think the writing is the strongest part of the game, and that's because it's been penned by the show's creators. There are some genuine laughs to be had.
I need you to assassinate him.
It's a friggin' cheeseburger. Is this guy serious?
Oh, I'm serious. I'm as serious as a cat.
What? A cat serious?
I especially liked how you had Bruce as your personal assistant explaining everything.
Ooh, you got a shotgun. You got to get up nice and close with this here shotgun and then go bang, bang. Don't turn it on yourself, though. That'd be sad.
The cell shading looks great during gameplay, but the facial expressions just don't have any of that sarcastic subtlety that really sells the jokes in the show.
Hey, Stewie, look, something came up. I'm not going to be able to do the picnic today.
Oh, was that today? Oh, yeah. Oh, no way I can make that either. I'm canceling too, man.
I don't know what you mean, Hex. The main problem is the repetitive gameplay. You're always doing the same thing. Shoot the college guys, shoot the Amish, shoot the handicapped. It's all just a bit too simple.
Yeah, and don't forget the puzzles. I mean, you take a break from shooting just to hold the action button down. Although the mindless enemies did tend to make holding that button difficult because they'd often respawn around you. Another thing I didn't like was the brainless enemy AI. I mean, rather than create challenge by having enemies use tactics, they just charge mindlessly at you. If I saw a dog shooting at people with a shotgun, I certainly wouldn't charge them with a bat.
Yeah, the AI is pretty rough. At one point I was walking around in this college world for a while trying to find the next objective when I realized there was one guy stuck behind a door, and then I had to shoot bits of him sticking out of the door before the game would let me finally progress. That sort of stuff drives me to different levels of crazy, Hex.
Yeah, I mean, there are rough edges everywhere you look in this game. And it's always a sure sign that minimal effort has been put into game design when the levels are littered with ammo and health boxes that respawn endlessly.
Well, this feels like one episode of the show that's just been stretched out with average gameplay, so I'm giving it 4.
Yeah, it's not a terrible game, but it really does feel dated, so I'm giving it 4 as well. Now, it's been quite a journey for Troy, Megan and the gang.
Indeed it has, Hex. There have been highs and lows and spring rolls.
But now we're pleased to present the very final episode of Tiny Power for 2012.
Metacritic score 99! Never has a game been more deserved of the label masterpiece. I knew we were on a good thing from the start.
Here's some secret footage I took of Troy playtesting the cliff scene for the first time.
What? No, Mummy, no! You big pansy!
And here's Aaron.
What?
I want to thank all of you for funding us, and a big thanks to my 3 favourite crybabies. It's been a great trip.
We're so proud of you, Megan.
Yeah.
Where the whores go? Good game.
With Aliens Colonial Marines delayed, I figured I was going to have to wait a whole year to get my hands on some Space Marines versus Alien action. Turns out I figured wrong. The first natural selection was a popular mod for the original Half-Life, pitting a team of Space Marines known as the Frontiersmen against aliens known as the Kara. But it was one of the first shooters to feature commanders, where one member of each team could take the role building defenses, expanding bases, issuing orders and upgrading their team's abilities in a sort of real-time strategy game. The developer went on to set up a small 7-man studio, and they began working on a sequel. Now that was a long time ago, but it looks like it's been time very well spent. At first I wouldn't have thought this could be a game developed by just 7 guys, but as a result the game is incredibly polished, it looks amazing, and it's well balanced for a multiplayer game. In fact, I'd go so far as to say it's one of the better multiplayer games released this year. Now admittedly, I didn't actually play the original mod, so I found there was a very steep learning curve. If you do decide to just jump straight into a match, you'll be in a bit over your head, especially if you decide to give commanding a go. But after watching a few of the lengthy tutorials, you'll be up to scratch. There's also servers set up specifically for newcomers, and the community seems like a friendly bunch, so it's not too intimidating to get started. That said, the first match I played, I went straight into commanding with no idea what I was doing, and I was very quickly told by the other players what they thought of me, so I just quit straight away. There's only one game mode where both sides spawn with a command station, or a big gooey sack known as the Hive if you're an alien. And to win, you either have to destroy all the other team's command stations, or destroy all their respawn points and kill the remaining survivors. Simple enough in theory, but victory is almost always reserved for the team with the best commander.
Building. Build structure and waypoint.
Commanders need to be good communicators. Having someone constantly letting the team know where reinforcements are needed, what's being built, and generally guiding the team well is essential. If you don't have a mic, don't command. Personally though, I'm not really the leader type. Just give me a rifle and something to shoot that isn't my teammate and I'll be okay. And playing as a Marine is fairly straightforward. Besides just trying to stay alive and kill aliens, you also need to help build structures ordered by your commander.
Build structure and waypoint.
And if you're lucky, he might just build a mech for you to stomp around in, because we all know mechs make everything awesome. Moving backwards is really slow, so you'll either have to hold your ground with your team, or you'll get overrun as aliens swarm in through vents or pounce from the roof. And when the lights go out, you know you're in trouble.
Creature of the night.
Oh no. What's Chin Torch on?
Probably the most important buildings you'll have to get up are the resource collectors. Because without a healthy supply of funds for your commander to spend, you won't be putting up much of a fight. You can also earn personal resources for playing well, and these can then be spent on things like better weapons, better equipment. My personal favourite was by far the flamethrower. The alien side is a bit more alien to play as. Everyone starts out as a skulk, which are fast little dog creatures that can run on walls and roofs.
What are we doing up here, Gog?
And are great for stressing Marines out.
Chop, chop, chop.
But as you earn resources, you can evolve into other life forms like the flying lurk or the huge triceratops like Onos. But once you die, it's back to being a skulk, so you'll need to learn how to manage your resources wisely. That said, there's still a lot of satisfaction that can come from mastering each of the different stages of evolution.
Oh god, oh god! Hello! No.
What I really liked was the variety of gameplay and tactics that were on offer here. There's something for all different gameplay styles and skill levels. Whether you just want to shoot aliens, prefer some more exotic alien action, or you just like to take on the tactical leader role, here you're covered. And they've done a masterful job of balancing out two extremely different teams. No one side ever feels particularly overpowered. Every match just comes down to who has the best teamwork.
I really think I'm not helping the team much.
All up, this is a new must-have game for anyone who's a fan of team-based shooters like Counter-Strike or Team Fortress, and even fans of strategy games will find something to love here, so I'm giving it 8.5 rubber chickens.
The first game that was my real gaming love, you know, it didn't make me race home from school. It actually made me miss school. It was in university. It was, you know, N64's GoldenEye.
One of my earliest favorite games is probably GoldenEye 007 on Nintendo 64.
So GoldenEye was it. I mean, just playing in LANs and multiplayer for the first time, everyone in the same room killing each other. I mean, it was amazing.
I remember my friends would get so into it, we'd end up making cardboard cutouts so you couldn't screen watch. And so everyone would have to sit high or low and like sit in your little corner and play on, you know, back in the day it was like, what, 36-inch CRT, terrible TV.
I will always be a shooter fan through and through. It's in my blood now.
It's time to leave the desert savannah behind and enter a lush tropical jungle. Welcome to Far Cry 3. It's no dinosaurs, but it's kind of a jungle thing.
It's like a jungle.
So it's the reminds of Jurassic Park. You play Jason, who along with his friends finds himself captured by a crazy Mohawk slave trader / mass murderer known as Vass.
They come and they blindside you every fucking time. So they say to me, they say, Vass, who the f is it going to be? Them or me? Me or them? like, you know, like they fucking think that I need to make a fucking choice. By the way, this lighter really sucks.
After you escape the slavers' compound, it's up to you to rescue your friends and also liberate the islands from tyranny. But there's just one problem. Your friends are mega douchebags.
To my father's black card, to my black card. Woo!
God, I haven't done Sambuca since I was 20 years old. Yeah!
Yes, Jason and his friends are douchebags. At least that's the impression you get from the rather stylish intro, but I guess it's kind of like the setup to a slasher movie, so I didn't mind so much. Plus, at least the girls weren't douchebags, they were just a bit boring.
I hated them all so much, Hex. Out of all of the NPCs I have rescued this year, this guy is the one I wanted to rescue the least.
Thanks for saving me. Hey, nice tats, man.
Let's get out of here!
To be fair, you do meet some much more interesting characters in the game, and there are some stellar performances. The motion capture and detail is all much better too than the last game.
So you'll help me?
No, you can only help yourself.
And I found the way the eyes stared into you in that first-person view was particularly affecting. But Hex, I just hated me. I hated Jason, and I think part of it's the writing, but also that voice acting. I just did not like it.
I, saw my friend. Wow, this place is huge. Oh man, it smells like sulfur. Like that, or I have really bad BO.
Yeah, look, I think the biggest hurdle for developers is that you never get to see your own facial expressions or mannerisms.
Goodbye, Lisa.
And yet your character does have a voice and some really dense subject matter to deal with.
That was rough. Harder than I expected.
So that might be the reason why Jason's character isn't that great.
At least generally the voice acting is much better than it was in Far Cry 2, which was like this.
You look like a vocational school dropout. Go out there and see if you can get the engine running. Try not to get distracted between the door and the car. You look like you're gonna drop dead any second. Guard.
It's like they never had time to take a breath.
Far Cry is all about keeping you in the first person. You never leave that view. This has some bonuses and some negatives. It's compelling and immersive being in that view all the time, but it also makes it harder to do out-of-the-ordinary things that aren't in the gameplay.
Hex, I'm starting to get frustrated more and more with games that take control away from you so much when you're not doing anything that isn't just jumping or shooting. Take, for example, this testing facility where you encounter a savage dog. I must have killed 20 of these dogs by now, Hex. But for some reason here, my character instantly goes into a cutscene where he puts his hands up and he backs away, the dog jumps on him, and then you're forced into this brutal and unnecessary QuickTime event where you're stabbing the dog in the neck. It just does not make sense. Those kind of breaks from gameplay I find a bit jarring. I think part of it is you're so used to be doing things when you're in that first-person perspective. And when you've got a game with cutscenes, you sit back and you watch the cutscene, and then when it returns to first-person, you're back into it, and you've got control again. But here, you never really know when it's coming.
Yeah, and it takes a moment for you to realise as well, doesn't it? Because you'll try to look left or right, and suddenly you'll realise, oh, I'm not actually in control anymore, and you kind of almost feel a bit cheated. I just wish more games tackled it like Uncharted, where you still have a role to play, you're still actively involved in that movement somehow.
Yeah.
Adding to that, the screen is much more cluttered here, with a GTA-style map in the corner and lots of objective markers. I always felt Far Cry 2's clean HUD had such a unique impact.
Yeah, I love the way that you held the map in your hand and the GPS was on the dashboard. Minimalist.
Having said all that, you can now fast travel to locations you've liberated, so getting around is much easier.
But I think we are picking on Far Cry 3 a little on this, because where this game truly shines isn't in the campaign. It's when you're out in the huge open world, stumbling into events and getting up to mischief. And the movement system is fantastic. The way Jason leaps and slides into a cover, the way he slides down a hill and tumbles out of vehicles, it's all very quick and responsive. I think this is the most reactive and in fact the best movement system in an FPS that I've ever played.
And the vehicles handle much better now too. They drift and struggle uphill, they slide around. And I especially liked the free jet skis everywhere. On occasion you'll find a hang glider which lets you survey the land. Which is good because while going off-road may seem like the quickest route, it rarely ends well. And when you reach the second island, you get your own wingsuit. Most importantly, though, the gunplay is heaps better, and there's a lean and peek system that I actually wanted to use.
It takes ages to unlock the ability to carry more than one weapon though, so that does get a little frustrating early on, but at least it forces you to adapt dynamically to the battlefield. As you collect herbs and hunt animals, of which there are many, you'll get skins to upgrade how much stuff you can hold.
Oh, I do enjoy hunting Barjo. If you can get over the fact that most animals are wearing Kevlar, it's thrilling taking down crocodiles, tigers, and sharks.
I took a more grenade and RPG-based approach to my hunting, which I found quite successful.
Oh, yes?
Those poor goats did not stand a chance. It is the circle of life, Hex, but I did feel bad taking out those turtles.
Oh, yeah.
I like turtles, but Badger needed a new wallet, whatever it was I crafted from them.
Look, I just look forward to the next generation of consoles where games like this will be full of AI animal life at every turn.
One of the most important upgrades is the ammo pouches, so you can have a bit more ammo, but Hex, I could not find any boar skins. It took me 2 days to find them. It was so frustrating.
I know, and you can't skip a step. Look, I think the crafting is okay, but it does need a lot of work. We aren't on the final code, so some of the menus aren't finished yet, but it just all feels a little grindy. You know, I think back to Skyrim, and obviously that's a game about exploring and loot, so it's a bit different, but the crafting system is so rewarding and fun in that game. You get excited when you find something new to make. This was just too simple. I think to make the decision to include it, it needed to have a bit more depth.
Yeah, I would have liked to find some more unique stuff out and about, because there are some fun places to explore, but really you're just getting relics and different things which give you XP and cash. I was also only ever a couple of unlocks behind with the skill tree, so I didn't really feel like I had much choice to uniquely customize my character.
No, I actually thought the skill tree was quite good. I mean, there's decent unlocks and more of a focus on stealth this time too, which I really liked. You even unlock the ability to quickly hide bodies if you pull off a stealth takedown. Enemies noticing you is much clearer this time around too. Notifications on screen will let you know if someone is onto you, and you can also throw rocks to distract guards and pick your way around an encampment.
Huh?
The strengths of this game is working out how to take a base down and then putting that into effect. It's thrilling, sitting on a hill and marking targets, sniping a few with a silenced rifle, then moving in to pick off the rest. Bows make for a good silent kill too. And I love a good exploding arrow. The strategy in these base attacks will keep you in the game for quite a while.
Yeah, I really enjoyed sneaking into a base and taking out all the alarms so they couldn't call for reinforcements.
Can't hide from me!
The fire mechanic returns, and I found it useful for distracting guards or funneling them into a certain area. And every now and then you'll see a caged animal, and if you can get that gate open, then that'll wreak quite a bit of havoc amongst the team. We haven't finished the campaign yet, but I think I enjoyed all of these base attacks much more than any of the campaign missions. Even though your buddies always rock up after you've taken out everyone on the base. Thanks, guys.
Well, at least they sometimes dance for you. And they let you steal all their cars.
That's true.
The enemy AI is solid. They'll flank and surround you, so you do have to get used to enemies coming from everywhere, and that's thrilling.
We are coming in from the west.
The story does have some really interesting moments, but it deals with some really dark themes, and I think some of the issues it tackles maybe were a bit unnecessary. You know, I just have a real problem with games throwing things in there for shock value.
Protect my product. You can them, boys, but be gentle.
It is ambitious to try and deal with these kind of issues, isn't it? But I do respect any developer that tries to explore that normal person becoming a ruthless killer within a game. We recently spoke to the writer behind the game, Jeffrey Yahalem, who talked about that journey.
We said, okay, we're gonna take a new kind of protagonist for video games, which is Jason Brody, who's in his 20s and is an everyman. So he's not a superhero, he's not special ops, he's not secretly military trained. He is a kid on vacation with his friends who has athletic prowess, but that's it. And so what happens when that guy is put into a situation where he has to survive minute by minute and save his friends? Will he pick up a gun? And how does that affect him? When Pat, the creative director, and I met about the game, the first thing that we decided was we want this game to be about shooting, which sounds like obvious, right? Because that's the central thing you do in the game. The mechanic is that you're shooting. But almost every shooter out there in the past ignores that.
What is it you desire?
To save my friends.
Are you sure?
I want to kill Voss and Hoyt.
Pat has always said from the very beginning, this is a story about a normal guy who picks up a gun and that can't end well. Let's make a game about shooting and what it does to humanity. And so this game is our statement, and it is a very clear statement about what we feel shooting means. And we're hoping that after this game, the game industry can kind of get past it and do new stuff.
The map editor returns, which is good. There's also Versus multiplayer, which we couldn't test out before launch, but we did have a quick go of the co-op, and it seems quite solid, and there's a bit of depth to it.
Yeah, we reviewed the PC version, but we also checked out the console version as well, and I have to say I was expecting it to look a lot better.
Yeah, me too, especially after those E3 demos. But happily, when everything is running on full on PC, it does look very pretty, and we had a bit of trouble keeping that stable, but I think that's just because it's not final code. There's lots of detail in the jungle and environments, and it's so atmospheric when a storm hits. This is a very big game, so we've only just made it to the second island, but I like this island a lot more, Hex. It's less dense and tropical and more Jurassic Park. And the gameplay does mix up a bit here too.
Can't kill anyone, can't put them on alert.
After you complete an unnecessarily overcomplicated stealth mission, you get a costume, which means guards won't attack you unless you trespass or do something weird.
How's it going?
The sunsets and sunrises are just beautiful too. You know, I really warmed to this game over time, Barjo, especially once I upped my arsenal and just went exploring. I do think we have been a little bit harsh in this review, but it's only because we were expecting so much from it, and unfortunately I think Far Cry 3 was a little bit of a victim of its hype. But I'm still giving it 8 out of 10. It was a great experience.
Yeah, look, there were a few things that got on my nerves, but I still want to see it through to the end, and I do like taking down those bases, so I'm giving it 7.5.
This is your stop! Fly, Jason, fly! Are you sure this wingsuit works? Trust me! Oh!
Good game. So did you guess the game for this week? It was Feud from 1987. You played as Sorcerer Liaric, battling your evil twin by collecting herbs, mixing them in your cauldron, and creating offensive and defensive spells. It gained a following at the time for unusual gameplay, and was a special request from our bearded friend Dave Callan.
Well, next week is our final episode of the year. It's an hour-long special where we hand out all of the coveted Good Game Awards, including the Good Game Game of the Year Game Award.
Plus, Goose looks back on the year that was, and we'll finally be checking out the Wii U.
Console Hex. Until then, gamers, Barjo out.
Hex out. You carb loading for the week ahead?
What is carb loading?
Like you eat heaps of carbs to give you the energy to deal with it.
There's
So
lots
it's
of carbs in pizza.
Pizza. You
doing
love
that.
pizza.
I do that every week.
Bread,
especially for next
pasta,
week. Yeah.
Cookies.
I live in a Bermuda
chips.
Triangle where no pizza can be delivered warm to my house.
You say that, but I live pretty close to you, and I always get warm pizza at my house.
Yeah, well, when you bring it over, it's not hogging it all. I get cold
I
pizza.
don't live that close.
I still eat it.
Plus, your house is like a biohazard, scary zone. It's like cat trees and things. Like you walk in and it's like there's jungle noises and stuff.
It's an ecosystem of cats and technology.
Meow! Where am I?
They're learning.